She never said that,
Yeah.
but she definitely did hint on the fact that it looked like Georgia like screwed up. Like I don't understand why these people in Georgia are doing. Like she basically like didn't say it, but she was definitely hinting like everything in Georgia's fraud.
Yeah. So that was the very, very weird, um, very, very weird cast of characters. And this, we're again reporting here from Axios about who he's kind of surrounding himself here in the final days. Um, but yeah, so we're saying, but he was increasingly becoming increasingly desperate about losing to Joe Biden, and Powell and her crew were willing to keep feeding the grand lie that the election could be overturned. They were selling Trump a seductive but delusional vision, a clear and achievable path to victory. Their only catch is he'd have to stop listening to his government and campaign staffs to cross the Rubicon and view them as liars, quitters, and traitors. And that was kind of the phrase that a lot of these people who were storming the Capitol were kind of batting around, was the crossing of the Rubicon phrase, where people, I literally saw people like on Parler or whatever just being like, I thought he was going to make this big crossing the Rubicon moment at the Capitol when he told us all to go march down there, but instead he was talking about Oprah most of the time. Like that is what they thought. They thought it was going to be a big moment. He was like finally reveal to them the conspiracy that they all knew to be true, and like that was going to be the big moment. So Trump's new gang of advisors shared some common traits. They were sycophants who craved an audience with the president. They were hardcore conspiracy theorists. The other striking commonality within the crew is that all of them had, at one point in their lives, done impressive professional mainstream work. People like Rudy Giuliani, Michael Flynn. He was a decorated three-star general. Powell was a pretty successful attorney. Obama, obviously fired Flynn. Lynn Wood was a nationally known defamation lawyer, and Patrick Byrne made a small fortune on the internet retailer Overstock.com. Jenna Ellis, who's the legal advisor for Trump, she was kind of an exception. She was actually anti-Trump, but during Trump's presidency, she pretty much went back into the through just some insane TV appearances. Powell and Woods distinguished themselves with their extremism, and Giuliani even began distancing himself, telling him that anyone who listened to Powell didn't represent the president. But Trump promoted Powell as part of the team, and even though he privately admitted to Ace that she thought she was crazy, he still wanted to hear what she had to say. So, what do you think this says about like the Trump mindset, and like what use does it have going forward?
Can you repeat the mindset?
What use does this information do you think? What does this tell you about like what Trump's going to do in the future here?
Well, first of all, I think Trump's I mean, he is. Look, one thing I'm going to say about Trump is he's going to be in the spotlight, whether or not we like it or not. I mean, he's going to be trying to run the Republican Party in his own way. I mean, I even heard talks that he might be making his own political party called the Patriot Party. I don't think that's actually going to happen.
Yeah, that is out on the news tonight. Kind of interesting, but don't really know too much about it.
Yeah, but I think he's going to definitely, I'm going to tell you one thing, he's going to make a lot of crap for the Republicans because he's going to be endorsing a lot of Trump candidates. Like, for example, Chris Kobach delivered the Kansas governor's mansion to the Democrats with Laura Kelly. Will he do it again in 2022? Most definitely, because Chris Kobach said that he most likely will run again for that seat. Will the Republicans in Kansas bow down to it? We don't know. But the thing I definitely will say is the whole thing of Trump, trying to just leave public light is not actually going to happen. He's going to endorse candidates in 2022. They're going to cause major rifts in the Republican Party that will deliver, or may deliver, big wins for the Democrats because the party's going to be divided. I mean, you're going to have the wing of the party that likes Trump a lot, and you're going to have the Republican Party that part of the party, that, even though that may be a minority, who doesn't like Trump. But look, if half of those minority amount, like the minority amount of voters who don't like Trump, go over and actually vote for Democrats, they're just going to be delivering things. I'm not saying that that's the method of campaigning that we should be doing. We shouldn't be necessarily doing a Biden campaign and trying to like sway over Republicans. That didn't work, obviously. But the one thing I will say is that there's going to be a big divide in the Republican Party, and Donald Trump is not going to help it at all. His future in the Republican Party is pretty much there for a while because look at Arizona's GOP, for example. They censored John McCain's wife. They censored Jeff Flake, which, by the way, I know Cindy McCain, John McCain's wife, never ran for public office, but John McCain and Jeff Flake were the last two, besides the incumbent Republican governor, to win Senate races in Arizona from the Republican Party. Martha McSally, who's literally a Trump 2.0, lost twice. Okay, and the second time she lost by a bigger margin than she did by the first, that's embarrassing, but well-deserved, to be quite frank. So the Republican Party is not going the right direction in regards to them giving up Trump, because they know it would be a disaster if they gave up Trump, because Trump definitely would then make his own party, and that would be the end of the day for the Republicans. They would not have anything really left, and then they would be basically dead because of the fact that their entire energy is with Trump now.
Yeah, that would be a pretty significant pull, I think, on the Republican Party base.
Oh, I agree. I mean, it would, because the whole idea that the Republicans are going to be able to find a way to put together two different groups, the group that likes Trump and the group that doesn't like Trump, it's impossible. I mean, there is a massive almost cult movement behind Trump that is insane. I mean, it's out of this world, quite frankly. And the whole thing that the Republicans are going to really have to, they're going to have it for themselves to fix, but they're going to have to fix it themselves, is that they're going to have to figure out what path they're going to go down. Are they going to go down the more traditional Republican path? Or are they going to go down the Trumpism path? And that's going to be a major rift, because you're going to have senators in the U.S. Senate who are going to go down the Trump path, and you're going to have senators who are going to go down the more traditional path.
Yeah, I don't think we can really predict who is.
You can't know. You can't predict who. No, I don't. If I had to bet, more of senators, I think there are going to be more senators going down the Trump path, because it's just going to be politically,
especially in the House as well,
advantageous.
All right, so before we do move on, we're going to get into some of the right-wing media response to this. But before we do, I just want to play this little clip from Alex Jones and his continued war against QAnon, trying to drive it out so he can really give himself the mantle as the only conspiracist in town, taking up his business here.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are only 40 hours away from the inauguration, and it's incredible. I was wrong, and when I'm wrong, I'm happy to be wrong when it's in the best interest of this nation. Q was right. Joe Biden is going to step down at noon on January 20th, and Donald John Trump is going to be inaugurated for his second term as the 45th president. Special forces, they got into the Capitol, they got into all the other areas, they got the secret laptops with all the proof. And it's over for the deep state. It's all over. Q is right. Q was not a pacification operation to suppress Trump voters to think everything was okay the last 4 years. No.
Yeah, there you get the real Alex Jones conspiracy there.
That's why martial law's in D.C. That's why there's 30,000 National Guard and 1,000 regular troops. That's why there's hundreds of armored vehicles and F-16s. It's why big tech censoring us was to protect the plan. I didn't trust the plan. I was wrong. And now I have to admit I'm wrong. That's right. Joe Biden will be stepping down.
Yeah, so pretty much there you get the idea. Alex Jones trolling the Q people a little bit in an interesting way. So yeah, just a little bit of an incitement of what's going on here. And an interesting take there from Alex Jones, that he is saying that Q really was a pacification operation for Trump voters, because, of course, he was sarcastically saying, yep, that's right, Biden's going to step down. I'm wrong, you're right here. So, yeah, really just, even Alex Jones getting some of the fun with the Q people here. It's absolutely insane how, you got to wonder some of the stuff that you see on the internet, how real really is it? But something that really is real is right-wing propaganda. And Tucker Carlson, a funny little interesting note here at the top of Tuesday's Politico Playbook, which is pretty much the thing that the swamp monitor, the best swamp monitoring equipment that you can have in DC journalism. It's pretty much like TMZ for politics. Political Playbook spotted George W. Bush and Tucker Carlson having dinner at a private home of a neighbor on the exclusive Gasparilla Island, Florida, where they both have homes. Playbook has displayed copious evidence of its, of course, many deep flaws, and it's hard to really think that the authors are like, oh, it's Tucker and George Bush, how exciting! Like, that's their main thought process. But yeah, it's really interesting to see this bind of the Republican Party. And first, like, what do you think about Tucker in general, and what is your kind of reaction to this move, James?
Well, I think that Tucker Carlson is he's a crazy person. I think he really is out there. I think he's a lot actually like he's definitely a right wing crystal ball in my opinion. I think that he says one thing, but then like when it like for example, he's against the idea of corporations being in power. Yet he only attacks. Well, he actually doesn't really attack anyone actually for it. He gives Trump a lot of fast passes for that. Yet when you see like him on private events, like when he was debating Cenk Uygur from Young Turks, there was a whole part of the segment of the argument was campaign finance, and Tucker Carlson was basically agreeing a lot of the times with what Cenk was saying. What Cenk was basically saying was, we need to ban corporate money from being able to donate. We need to overturn Citizens United, and then Tucker Carlson was agreeing. Yet when you look at him on Fox, you would never, ever, ever be able to comprehend that Tucker Carlson in that video at that political event is the same Tucker Carlson that you'll see every day at 7 or 8 p.m. I don't know what time he comes on, 7 or 8 p.m. on Fox News. I think he's a con artist, and I don't really care for him. Now, in regards to this whole thing with George Bush, this is actually news to my ear. I didn't even know about this. But one thing I will say is I definitely think he's trying to make good connections. I mean, he has hinted at running for office in the past. I don't know if you've ever heard of that one, but he has hinted at running for office in the past. So I definitely – look, what I think might be here, I don't know if they have any information on what this meeting entailed, but it might be about possibly running for office for all I know. I know he was saying he might run back then for the U.S. Senate. This is like 3 years ago he was saying that, but I don't know if that's actually going to actually end up happening. But to be honest with you, I think this is quite interesting because I never really would have imagined George Bush, of all people, to be talking with someone like Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, I mean, really, at the end of the day, a lot of this stuff it proves the fraudulent nature of Tucker Carlson in a big way, because one of his best things, his favorite things to say about Trump nowadays is, I'm proud to support the only president who didn't get us into another war, which is a completely disingenuous thing because he completely perpetrated and made worse the conflicts that we're already in. Just because he didn't start another war doesn't mean he's so great. But then to turn around and just wine and dine with George W. Bush, like you're all in the same club, and that's really, he's a incredibly rich guy through no luck of his own. He's just lucked into the Swanson food money, and that's he's part of the elite. And there's great old videos of him being like, well, the best thing about populism is you don't literally saying it, being like, you don't want to anger the peasants. You're gonna feed them information, misinformation to calm them down, and talk like a populist. But when real things come around, you really tone it down, and that's what he does best, and that's his big intention, and that's clearly I think what this reveals with this meeting about who's it's all one big club, as the saying kind of goes there.
It definitely is one big club, and there's one thing it really angers you, and I want to think about it, because there's one thing I never understood about the people who go on Fox. They are, let me use this word because it gets me infuriated to think. That blonde one, I think her name is Dana Perino or something like that. I don't know. She's on the midday news with Juan and the two other guys. The two other guys are quite crazy. Greg, I think is his name, and the brown hair, not brown, black hair guy. I forgot his name. Whatever. They're during the midday news. Now, they are incredibly double standard. I mean, they were spreading these fraud things, this and that, and then they're saying a lot of the crap about how BLM is so violent. Yet when it comes to the Capitol the Capitol, literally, I mean, I have to say, even though BLM might have torn down businesses, etc., this and that, what they always say, the insurrection at the Capitol is much worse and is going to last in the history books for much longer.
It was way more violent. The protesters there in that particular instance were really going off and beating up everyone they saw.
Yeah, I mean, that. But the other thing is, they destroyed a sacred building of our democracy. They rampaged into the Capitol, and the fact of the matter is, Fox wasn't really reporting on it as much